Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you are doing well. I see people signing on, getting comfortable with the platform. If you're already signed in and you're pretty comfortable and you want to raise your hand, there's a little hand in the control panel. If you raise your hand, if you can hear me, just so I know it's not the four of us speaking. Okay, super. Okay, I see people are signing in. You can hear me. While you guys are kind of getting comfortable, just a little housekeeping items real quick, just so you are aware, we do have closed caption available. Angela is providing that. There's, you do have to keep this window open, but go to the other link, the link that I have on the screen to open another tab, another browser, go to that URL. Angela will be providing the closed caption. If you're watching this as a recording, closed caption unfortunately is not available, but I do want to make everybody aware that we do provide that. Also, if you have any questions, it's a question box. Throw your question into the question box. A lot of times I'll take questions as I'm going through the webinar. So before I pass it over, for those that are already all set and comfortable on the platform, put in the type of business you are and where you're located, just so I can give a few shout outs. And then I'm going to pass it over to Lorena, and you can kick us off.
Well, good afternoon. I am so excited to have everyone join us today for the Town of Dumfries' first Grow with Google webinar. I am Lorena Harrows, Director of Strategic Planning and Data Analysis for the Town of Dumfries. And today is all about celebrating and supporting small business. We hope to equip you with digital skills that will help you and remain competitive in today's market. But we also have community partners who have joined us from the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and our local tech firm, TSI. Nicholas and Jennifer, would you like to briefly tell us about your organizations and how you support the community?
Jennifer, if you wanted to go first.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicholas. I appreciate it. My name is Jennifer Larson. I am, again, with TSI. I am the Client Relations Manager here. We are located in Dumfries, Virginia. We are a veteran-owned and minority-owned small business. We have a vast amount of different customers that we service. Our main goal is to partner up with vendors and ensure that a good customer experience is had. And we believe in no tech talk in our communication. We try to make sure that we're communicating effectively and efficiently on everyone's level. Thanks for having me.
Hi guys, my name is Nicholas Johnson. I'm the Director of Sales Operations for the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We're a 21-year-old statewide organization, the only statewide Latino chamber in Virginia, with offices in Tysons Corner, Richmond, and in Hampton Roads. So we do service, anyone from small businesses to major corporations. Please visit vahcc.com for any of those business resources or needs. Again, Nicholas Johnson, and please reach out.
Super, thanks guys. So I'm going to ask the three of you if you could turn off your cameras. Mute. I'll bring you back on at the end. So if anybody has any questions for them, put them into the question box. They'll address any of those questions at the end of the webinar. I asked for a couple names and organizations and where you're located. So let's see, we've got, so if anybody wants to put that into the question box while calling out a couple others, that would be great. So we have Anne is with Natural Bridge, Virginia. You're a bed and breakfast in Natural Bridge, Virginia. Okay. Elizabeth is a design firm in New York. Got somebody from New York. And Jennifer, I'm going to ask you to mute if you could. Super. I don't have anyone else that added their business or where they're located, so I'm going to just keep on rolling. Okay, let's see. So I'll give one more, Yvonne with YJ Waste Management in Roanoke, Virginia. Okay, super. All right, so let's get rolling. Now, for those that don't know me, my name is Randy Penfeld. I am a speaker with Grow with Google. And Grow with Google, we partner with organizations like you just met. And in order to really partner with them and bring education locally. Education like how to improve your small business online, right? How to get found online, how to use Google tools to search for a job online, or how to improve your digital skills using Google products. So we bring that type of education locally, whether it's in person, which years ago it was, or virtual like it still is right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn off my camera. Reason being is I talk with my hands. I look at multiple screens. I want my information to have full real estate on your page, and I don't want to distract anybody. That being said, I will pop in and out with my camera when I answer questions. So if you have a question as I'm going through the webinar, put your question into the question box. A lot of times I will answer the question as we're going through this. So one last thing, I've got a hashtag on the screen, Grow with Google. If you're active on social media, use our hashtag. Take a picture of your notes or a picture of your computer screen, post out there using our hashtag and put out, one or two, three things that you might have learned from today's webinar. So let's go ahead and get rolling and talk about making your website work for you. Now, I want to do a quick poll. How many of you have a website? So I'm going to do a quick poll. I'm going to launch this poll. And if you guys could take a second and just answer it. Just want to get a feel for how many of you have a website right now, or if you don't have a website, you're getting ready to create a website. So we've got almost 65% of you have answered. So if you're on a different screen, come on back and answer. Okay. So I got 61% of you have answered. So we'll close the poll. And 82% of you have a site, 18% of you don't. Now, even if you currently have a site, I'm probably going to go over some things that can help you with your current website. If you're brand new to this, I'm going to give you lots of information. So and because I'm giving so much information, I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed. You're going to get a copy of the slides. I'll have one of today's partners share the slides with you, as well as 2 hours after the webinar, you're going to get a link to the recording. So you can re-watch this, so you can take it at your own pace. Now, let's jump in. We know that really having a strong web presence, especially in today's world, right, based on the last 2.5 years, having that strong web presence has really helped small businesses engage with their customers, reach customers. Things that you have to remember is the consumer behavior is changing, and it's changing rapidly. Over these last few years, the consumer has really expected to be able to find exactly what they're looking for and find it with ease and be able to connect with a business. We know that from the start of 2020, 75% of US consumers tried a new shopping behavior. So in many cases, they really were forced to try new ways to connect with a business. So looking at what the number I've got on the screen here, more than 70% of surveyed participants reported that their shopping involved online touch points. So making sure that your business is there when the consumer wants to engage, or they're looking for something, or they have a need, is extremely important. And remember, consumers look for websites in those moments of need. They look for answers when they want to buy something, they want to go somewhere, they want to do something, and they want to know something. Not only do they look online, but when they go to your website, they expect a frictionless experience. If they're not going to get a frictionless experience, chances are they're going to hit that back button. So let's start by talking about web design, right? Websites, right? And when people hear the term web design, they often think of the graphic design, the website's look and feel, skin of the website, but that's really just one component of web design. So when you look at a website, there's a lot of different graphic templates that are available, right? Now, when you look at a website, a lot of common elements that appear on most websites today. So a website has a header, a footer, navigation. So header is at the top, footer is at the bottom. Navigation allows them to navigate the site. Navigation is usually horizontally across the site or vertically on the left side of the site. When we talk about the header, that's that top section of the site, that usually includes important information about the company. So the company logo, the phone number, the address, the logo in the upper left-hand corner, right? And the consumer knows if they click that logo, they're always going to get back to the home page. And then at the footer, there's also information provided. And some of the top information from the header can be repeated in the footer as well. So effective websites really follow the guidelines to keep web pages consistent. And when we talk about consistent, some of the things that you're seeing on the screen here, fonts, right? Color, graphic, functionality, the overall layout, the content and the way it's laid out. That should be consistent throughout your website. You shouldn't on one page have all these different colors and then on another page use different graphics and colors, fonts. It should remain consistent. Now, some websites are designed from scratch. Some use a content management system, CMS. So examples of content management system, Shopify, Wix, WordPress, Squarespace. These are all content management systems. And within a content management system, you sometimes can update it and make it, use some code in there and make it a little bit more your own. But you're normally choosing a template and then you're updating it with your colors, your font, and the functionality that you want to appear. So whether or not you're building a website from scratch or using a CMS system, all of the same principles really do apply with a website. Now, in today's webinar, we're going to look at 5 characteristics of what makes up a great website. And remember, it's not all about it having this great graphic design. So we want to think about that your website should be goal-oriented. And with each of these, you can see on the screen, I'm going to give you different tools that are available, but we've got goal-oriented, we've got search-friendly, convenient. Your website should be convenient, it should be organized, and it should be trustworthy. So let's go through each of these, starting with goal-oriented. And remember, when you look at your website, so for the 82% of you that have a website, right? You look at your website has specific goals, right? Whether it's short-term or long-term goals. Your website needs to have goals. And if you're redesigning your site, you want to make sure you're keeping those goals in mind because your website really should help you achieve your goals, whether they're short-term or whether they're long-term goals. And types of goals, right? So we've got all different on the screen here, and there might be some additional ones that you have. But one thing you want to think about is, why do you want a website, right? What is the purpose of your website? So when I come to your website, what do you want the consumer to do when they come to your website? So you've got to think about making sure that on your website, the consumer, the visitor to your site, can navigate your site with ease and travel through the path of accomplishing the goals that you set out. Remember, you may have multiple goals. So when we think of goals, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of your audience. And when I say audience, I'm talking about your target audience. So who is your website for? Think about that. Who's going to visit your site, use your site, convert off of your site? Think about your audience, your target audience. You're not building a website for everybody because everybody is not your target audience. You have a very specific target audience. So you have to understand your target audience and make sure that you're building a site for your audience. Now, when you think about your target audience and you build that picture of them, start to think about them in relation to your website and the goals of your business. And as I mentioned before, you may have more than one goal on your website. All of your goals are going to help you to reach your overall business goals. Now, we like to think of things a lot in frameworks. So this is an example on the screen here, SMART goal framework. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound, so time sensitive. So is your goal specific and detailed? How are you going to measure it? Is the goal realistically attainable? And is the goal relevant to your business? Will this goal help you reach your overall business goals? And then time sensitive, set a time frame for achieving this goal. So when looking at your site, you should know, all right, I've got X amount of goals that I want to reach on my website. Each of these goals should fit within to the SMART goal framework. So when you're thinking about it that way, you've thought about your goals, you think about your target audience, now you've got to think about how are you going to track and measure whether or not you've accomplished those goals based off of your website. And remember, if you don't track and measure your website's performance, you really don't have a way to make improvements. And when I talk about improvements, I'm talking about based on data, on real data. Another way to think about it, and if you've ever attended my webinars, you hear me use this analogy quite often, but let's say you have a bicycle, right? You want to make that bicycle go faster. So you're going to make some modifications to it. But if you don't know what the max speed is before the modifications, how are you really going to know whether or not those modifications worked, right? Same thing with your website. If you're not tracking and measuring what's happening on your site, and then you go to your website and you make changes or you redesign your site, how are you going to know whether or not your website is successful, right? So now there's lots of ways that you can track when you think about it. You can start by simply asking your customers when they come into your store or they call you or they send you an email, how they found you. You can ask them when they, as I said, call you, how did you hear of me? Did you go to my website? You can also be more precise. So you can also have a tracking number if you want to do a call tracking number. You can also, if you have a form submittal on your website, you can track the number of emails and submissions from your site. If you've got e-commerce, you can track sales. You can also use Google Analytics. And Google Analytics really lets you understand the visitor's behavior on your website. So how many of you, raise your hands, are currently using Google Analytics? How many of you are currently using Google Analytics? Okay, so only a couple people. Okay, so let's talk about briefly analytics. Now, this is not an analytics webinar, so I'm not going in deep, but I do want to give you some ideas with analytics. So analytics is free. It's software that you would utilize. You would take a code or a measurement ID and add it to your website, and it gives you information about what the visitors to your site are doing. So if they come from, say, social media advertising, and they come to your website, you would see that they've come from maybe an ad that you had on social media. Now they're on your site, what they're doing on your site. So you can see what content they're engaging with, how many pages they visited on your website. So lots of the information. You can also see if you set up tracking, conversion tracking, you can see which channels drove the most conversions as well. So to set up analytics, if you don't have it set up, and again, I'm not going into analytics here, just giving you an overview, you would go to g.co/analytics, click start for free. You're going to be prompted to sign into your Google account, your Gmail account, your Workspace account. And then you're going to add your measurement ID. Analytics, if you currently have it, has changed. It is now called Google Analytics 4. Universal is still available, which is the older version. GA4 is brand new and it is a bit more advanced, and it's really geared towards working towards machine learning. So if you have Universal, you do want to update to GA4. You would go to the admin section, second column, click where it says GA4 Setup Assistance, and walk through the steps. Now, here's an example of the different types of reports that would be available in Universal that would allow you to track what the visitors to your website are doing. Now, from Universal, I'm going to show you GA4 because that's Universal's going into the sunset next July. So you've got to get comfortable with GA4 now, because once it goes into the sunset, you're not going to have access 6 months after it goes into the sunset to your old reports. So you've got to start building your reports now of what people are doing on your website. And a lot of people will say, why should I use Google Analytics? I've got it with my content management system. Here's why. One day you may not use that marketing company, or you may switch from a Weebly to a WordPress website. When you switch, you lose all that historical data. With Google Analytics, your measurement ID, that ID that you add to your site, is yours. It's tied to your domain name. So even if you switch the web platform you're using, you take that measurement ID with you and you add it to the new platform, and you don't lose that historical data. So here's, and going back to the reports, here's some examples of reports that you have with Google Analytics: real-time, life cycle, user. It's broken down into different areas. And within that, again, Google Analytics tells you what the visitors are doing on your website, because that is really important when you're thinking about the goals that you have for your website, for the visitors to come to your site and to engage with your site and the path that they're taking. And you need to understand, are they spending time on particular pages of my site? Are they checking out? Are they getting to a checkout page and not checking out? That's all going to show up within your analytics reporting. So let me just take a couple questions real quick. Okay, so I've got one question here. Is analytics offered on all sites? So again, not Google Analytics. Google Analytics, you must add the measurement ID to your website in order for Google Analytics to be able to track what the visitors are doing on your site and then put that into the reporting of Google Analytics. So it is important that you add that measurement ID to your site. And again, reason being, you might have a Weebly or WordPress or Wix or whatever other platform you might be using, and you may choose in a year or two, I need a new site, or in 3 years, I need a new site. And you can't take that data with you from that content management system. You have to, if you're using Google Analytics, take that measurement ID and just add it to your new site, and you would still have the historical data. Okay, so I'm going to keep on rolling because that's the only question I currently have. All right, so we've talked about goals, we talked about a target audience. So let's switch gears and talk about making your website search friendly. And when I talk about search friendly, I'm talking about SEO, search engine optimization. Now, I could do a whole presentation on it, but I don't have enough time. So I just want to give you a few tips that you can use. Excuse me. So to help you understand with SEO, okay, now what I've got on the screen here, there's 3 different ways that you can appear on a results page, search engine results page. Now, if I break it down, we've got text ads are up at the top. You can see that. Sometimes above that, you'll have shopping ads. Right-hand side of the page is the Google Business Profile. That is a free tool that's available. And then in the center, well, we have the organic results. That's in the center well, as I said. That's all the natural result. That's what I'm talking about when we talk about SEO, search engine optimization. Ads, you're paying to appear. Google Business Profile helps you with SEO tremendously if you are a local business. Business Profile also allows you to appear correctly on the map section as well. For right now, we're talking strictly about the organic section. So if somebody clicks on any of the links that are available in this organic section, that's all free. Now, as I go through this, I want you to remember these gray bars because this is snippets of information that are appearing on a results page. So let's walk into it slowly a little. So when we talk about SEO, search engine optimization, creating that search-friendly website, there are some things that you can do on your own. Now, you could hire a marketing company, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. You know, as a small business owner, you probably wear a lot of hats. So sometimes it is easier, more effective to hire a company that this is what they do. But if you want to take care of some things on your own and improve your site's visibility and the organic results, you can do some things too. And I'm going to start with speed, content, and links. So first thing, think about the speed of your website, how quickly or slowly your site loads. A website's load time is extremely important, especially for mobile devices. Over 50% of searches are happening on mobile devices. We are walking around with the internet in our pocket. And a lot of times we may be sitting on a computer doing work and we still grab our phone and do a search on it. So it is really important that you have a fast load time. Recent studies found that the faster site speed you have, that improves conversion rates and also reduces bounce rate, meaning someone landing on your website and then quickly leaving your site. So think about this. If your website is loading, how long was somebody going to sit and wait for your site to load, right? Think about this. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, right? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Now, are you still waiting for a website to load? At this point, you're already expecting that site to be fully loaded and you can be engaged on the site. If it's not, by 3-4 seconds, you're hitting that back button. Remember what I said about the consumer wanting a frictionless experience? If they are waiting for your website to load, that's not a frictionless experience. The consumer expects to do a search, choose a site to visit, get an answer they're looking for. So you want to think about the website load time. Also, remember, most important information at the top because your website loads top to bottom. And then we talk about useful content. You want to make sure that you're publishing original content that's useful, clear, and accurate. So when we talk about content, if you're adding a blog or you're writing an article for your site or you're updating a page of your website, make sure you're using the same language that the consumer uses. Meaning, if you have something that's technical and when you're speaking with others within your industry, you may use those technical terms. The consumer is not using technical terms. They are just Googling it and looking for an answer. So make sure you speak the language of your audience. And when you're updating your site, I'm not talking about just changing a keyword. I'm talking about changing the content. So adding another paragraph, adding some links to your site, really engaging on your site and updating it with accurate information. And think about the keywords, the phrases, the questions that the consumer is calling and asking you. Add that to your site. Remember, if they're calling and asking you a question, somebody had a bed and breakfast. If they're calling and asking about a bed and breakfast and what your bed and breakfast offers, that means that's how they're searching too. So make sure on your website you have the ability or you're adding content that answers those questions the consumer asks you. And the other thing you want to think about, content is not just words on the page. Content is images, it's video. When you add a video, if you're using a content management system, there's a space to add a video title and the description. When you're adding images within your content management system, there's a place to add alt text, alt tags, which is an image description, because when Google is crawling your site to understand what each page is about, it cannot read an image. So if you add an image description, alt text or alt tag, that's what the software Googlebot is reading. And it gets a better understanding of what is that page is all about. And then we've got links. So internal links are really important. An internal link is a link from one page of your site to another page of your site. So by linking throughout your site, number one, you're keeping the visitor on your site and engaged, and you're also keeping Googlebot, when Google's crawling your site, on your site and engaged, and allowing Google to get a better understanding of how your website all works together and what each of the individual pages are about. And remember, you think of your website as a whole, but each page of your website has an opportunity to appear on a results page. So you've got to make sure you've got good, accurate information on each of the pages of your website. Okay, so we talked about speed, we talked about content, we talked about links. So let's go a little bit deeper and talk about a couple more characteristics. So page titles and descriptions. So descriptive page titles and accurate page descriptions can really help make your site more search friendly. And when I talk about page titles and meta descriptions, that's short pieces of code found on every web page. Now, the title of the web page and its description appears, remember those gray little bars that I asked you to remember on a results page? That's what appears on a results page. Every page title and page description should be unique for that particular page. So it should answer or describe what is on that page. So title tags or page titles, that's a significant factor in helping search engines understand what the topic of your page is about. These are all ranking factors to Google. So speed, the content, the keywords, the page titles, the meta descriptions, these are all ranking factors to Google and can help you appear on a results page. So, and when we talk about a results page, that's the page I showed you, search engine results page. That's the page when you do, somebody types in a search and clicks enter or search, that's what appears. We had, remember I said, because somebody's asking what's a results page. That's where the ads appear on the top, the business profiles on the right side, organic section is in the center. That's a results page. Okay, so let's go back to page titles. So, and when we talk about page titles, the title, that means when you look at a tab, the browser's, when you're on a tab on your website or on a website, you've got a tab open, that's the title that can be found in the browser's title bar. So that's really important. That's also, again, remember on a results page, those gray little bars I told you about, those are the first impressions that many people have of your page when they're skimming the results page. So, you know, back in the day, everyone always said, oh, I got to be number one. I got to be number one. But here's the thing. The consumer skims a page now, and they're looking for who's got the most important information or the information that's going to match what they're looking for. And that's who they're going to click on. So you've got to think about how you're appearing on a results page. Now, when we talk about a page title, the title length should be about 50 to 60 characters because you don't want it to get cut off on a results page. Now, if you're using a content management system, there is a place for you to add your page title. You'll be able to see the page title. There's a place to add the page description or the meta description, which is a snippet of information that you're going to put in to the content management system that describes what that page is all about. You want to keep that roughly about 155 or less characters so that doesn't get cut off on a results page. Now, sometimes Google will look at your page that it's choosing to appear and say, I see a better description on the page than what you, when you were building your website, put into the content management system. And then next, we've got information architecture. So that's the structure, the navigation of your website. Now, I'm going to come back to that because in a few slides, I'll talk about that. And then all browsers, all devices. Every website should be mobile friendly and built for the consumer to use on their website, on their phone. And remember that over 50% of searches are happening on a mobile device. So you want your site to be mobile friendly, responsive, meaning formats correctly for the device that it's being opened up on, which almost every template is now built that way. Now, we talk about, how our website is doing in search results, right? We want to make sure that it's appearing well, and we know maybe where we might need some improvement. So here's another tool. And so far, every tool I'm mentioning is free. There's no charge for. So Search Console. So Search Console really tells you how your site or what you need to do to help your site perform better in the organic section of Google. With the Search Console, you can see search terms that people search by and your website appear for. It's organic ranking. You can see your top performing URLs. You can see the speed of your website, which is extremely important. You can sign up for weekly emails, daily emails, monthly emails, so that you know how your site is performing. You can, it'll also send you, if you've got error pages on your website. So it gives good information about your website. Now, we talked about Google Analytics, that talks about the visitors to your site. Search Console talks about the visitors to your website. I'm sorry, Google Analytics talks about the visitors to your website and what they did on your website. Search Console talks about the health of your site and how it's appearing in Google's eyes. So to set that up, you would go to g.co/search console. You're going to add your website property, which is your domain name. Google will come back and give you 3 or 4 ways that you need to verify that you're the owner of that website. Once you verify it, it's going to start crawling and updating your site map so that you can then go back to the Search Console and you can get reports. So that's Google Search Console. So we talk about analytics, visitors to your website, Search Console, how your site is doing in Google's eyes. And now we've got a great website is convenient. And you want to really think about then that visitor experience to your site, and no matter what device they're on. So you want to create a website that offers ease and convenience for your visitors. So as I mentioned, mobile friendly, extremely important. We know that the consumer is shopping, visiting, searching off of a mobile device. So how can your website offer ease and convenience? So whether you have an e-commerce site or not, you need to make sure that the consumer can come to your site, navigate your site, find what they're looking for, and get the answers that they need. So ease and convenience. And if you offer any of these, you want to make sure that it is easy for the consumer to find these items, these actions on your website. So responsive design. So I already talked about that. That's meaning having a website that formats correctly, regardless of the device the consumer is searching by or looking at your site at. So, and mobile first approach is a ranking factor also for Google. So making sure that you have a mobile friendly site that the consumer can use with ease is extremely important. And also, the key is when you're building your site, make sure that the consumer can click on your call to action buttons with ease. Remember, they're doing it from a mobile device, with their fingers. If the consumer comes to your site and they want to click a button, but they keep clicking the wrong button because it's so close, the one they want is so close to another, they're going to get frustrated, hit the back button, and not go back to your site. So make sure that they can navigate your site with ease and click with ease. If you have an e-commerce site, make sure the payment process is simple and not frustrating. That's key. And then if it's an e-commerce site, it's always great to recommend similar products or services as well to help that consumer navigate throughout the site and find what they're looking for. Now, we talk about a mobile-friendly site and we talk about speed of a website. Now, if you set up Search Console, you'll be able to see the mobile speed of your site and the load time of your website. If you don't use Search Console, here's another tool, Test My Site, that you can go to the URL I've got on the screen here, and you would put in your domain name, your website URL, and then it'll come back with a report on how quickly or slowly your website loads. We know every second a potential customer spends waiting for your site to load, that counts. And people will hit that back button if your website is not loading quickly. People get frustrated. So here's a good way to, we talk about how your website's appearing on a mobile device. And a lot of people don't always check their website. So this is called Chrome Inspector, another free tool. You would go to your website, put your cursor over your site, right click over your website, and the right bar is going to open up with all this code. You didn't break your site, you can always close it. There's a little X in the upper right-hand corner. But when you get this, I'm sorry, the bar is not going to open. The box will open first and you hit inspect. Then that right side will open up for you, and that's got all the code in it. So you would go to your website, put your cursor over your site or mouse over your site, right click. This box that I've got in the center is going to open up. You're going to go to inspect. When you click inspect, this right bar with all the code is going to open up. From there, you have the ability to hit the toggle device toolbar right where I'm showing you here. I've got the box around it, or you could come over where it says responsive. There's a drop down. From here, you can choose the different types of mobile devices, whether it's a tablet, maybe it's a Google Pixel XL, maybe it's an iPhone 12. You can choose a different device and see how your website is formatting. It is extremely important that you view how your site is formatting and how then the consumer can navigate your site. Many people never check their website on a mobile device. Now, let's talk about organization of the site. And I briefly mentioned information architecture when we were talking about SEO, search-friendly website. So information architecture, or IA, is really the way you're going to lay out your website. So you've got to start thinking about and have a plan with your site. So for the 82% of you that already have a website, you may be adding pages. You should be adding pages. Remember, the more pages you have on your site, the better opportunity you have your site to appear on a results page. And when I talk about a site, I'm talking about those individual pages of your website. So information architecture is really just a plan and the different sections of your site. Now, every website has, several common pages, right? The home page, the about us, the contact us. But your business, the products you sell, the services you offer, can all be individual pages as well. So as you're thinking about how you're going to plan your site or build out your site, you want to think about the organization of your site. So with this, you want to list the pages of your website. You want to keep your site organized because you're not only building your website for the human visitor, You're also building it so Google can crawl it and understand the flow of your site, what's on your website, what's on individual pages. Assign each page a clear call to action. Make sure that if I come to your website and go to a particular page, I know what I'm going to do when I come to your site, or there's something on there that tells me what I should be doing. Make sure you're highlighting that, right? Like I've got shop new releases right here showing up on the site. Make sure it's a clear call to action. And remember, your site is going to grow over time. So maybe you just start with 5 pages, but over time, you're going to be adding more pages to your website. So have that plan, information architecture. Now I always hear from people, well, you know, when I talk about content and I want to add things to my website and I want to add additional pages, how do I know what people are really searching for? So enter Google Trends, which is another free tool that you can utilize. And that allows you to understand the relative popularity of keywords. And those keywords are phrases over time. So within Google Trends, you would go to the URL I have in the lower left-hand corner, and you could add different phrases or keywords. You would add a time frame, you would add a region, and you'll be able to see, are these keywords and phrases trending? Are people talking about these? And not only on a search, on a web search, but you can also see, are people searching for images? Notice here, we've got images. YouTube, are people looking for videos on these keywords and phrases? So that'll give you insight into what people are looking for within your business. Keywords, phrases that you should be having content on your website. Okay, so I'm just saying, I'll take questions at the end. I see just a couple of questions. So start putting your questions in if you have any. So last thing is trustworthy. So a great website is trustworthy. And that means when people come to your site, it's number one, a secure site. And if there is an e-commerce site aspect to your site, that they're checking out and their security. So notice at the top here where it says Trade Street Jam, there's that little padlock. So that padlock, as well as if they can see your URL, and your URL begins with HTTPS instead of HTTP. So the padlock, which is the symbol at the beginning of the URL, and they would also maybe notice if they're clicking on there and see the full URL, the S that's at the end of the HTTP. Both of those things indicate that the site that they're on is a secure website. And that's really important. Number one, that's also considered a ranking factor with Google. But in order to have a secure site, you do need to have an SSL certificate. So secure socket layer. So SSL technology encrypts the data so it can't be stolen by hackers. So many customers who you are used to shopping online, they actually look for that before they make a purchase. Now you cannot get that certificate through Google. You'll need to get it through your web hosting provider, who you bought your domain name, or a certificate authority, a CA. So backing up a minute real quick, when you're on a web page, the browser you're using is constantly communicating with a web server. That's how you're online. So, but as information is transmitted back and forth between the server and the browser, it does have the potential to be intercepted by hackers. So this certificate, the SSL certificate, signals to the browser that it should make the connection to the server secure and private, so that there's no opportunity for anyone else to access the information that's being shared. So that's why it's really important you have that SSL certificate. And again, you cannot get it through Google. You do have to go to your web hosting provider. And then we've got secure payments. So secure payments is the last thing. So if you have an e-commerce website, you want to have secure payments. So whether it's, PayPal or Google Pay, whatever payment processor you're using, just understand it should be secure. So if your website includes that e-commerce component, you're going to want to ensure that payments are secure. To do that, you'll need to create a merchant account with a payment gateway. So when we talk about what's a payment gateway, that's also known as a payment processor, which does exactly what it says. It serves as a liaison between your business and your customer by securing or safeguarding the financial information as it's put into your site. So as I said, Google Pay is an option, PayPal, Amazon Pay. There's lots of them that are out there. You have to find out what's best for your business that you would want to utilize. Okay, so that's making your site trustworthy. So we went through a lot, very short period of time. So next steps, if you haven't, and remember, each of the characteristics of a great website, I gave you tools that you can utilize. So if you haven't set up Google Analytics, that's going to help you track and measure what people are doing on your site so you know whether or not you're accomplishing your goals. Google Search Console talks about how your site is appearing in Google's eyes in the organic section of Google. Then we've got Test My Site. You can see how quickly or slowly your site is loading. Test My Site is eventually going into the sunset. So there's other tools out there, but also Google Search Console will tell you how quickly or slowly your site is loading as well. Google Trends talks about search terms and keywords and the relative popularity of them. And then trustworthy, Google Pay as well as SSL certificate, extremely important. Remember, a lot of these are ranking factors in Google's eyes. Okay, so quick resource, I got two little resources. So there are, and many of you probably have heard of, Google Career Certificates that are available. Go to the URL I have on the screen here, or that's in the slides, and you're be able to get more information on the career certificates. There are charges for the career certificates for you to take them, but there are some scholarships that are Google's offering for US businesses as well. You can find all of that information on the website I've got on the screen. Our website, Grow with Google, we've got tons of information on our site as well. Okay, so let's take some questions. If anybody has questions, I only have a couple on here. And I know I go through a lot of information, very quick period of time. So a site that doesn't ask for payments, you don't need, well, you wouldn't have a payment processor because you're not asking for payments, but your site still should be a secure site. HTTPS is recommended for every website. If it's not, a lot of times if you're using a firewall on your own website, on your own computer, before you can visit another site, it's going to tell you that's not a secure site, number one. Number two, having a secure site is a ranking factor to Google. Google wants everybody's website to be secure. So if I come to your site, there's no reason for me to be worried about downloading a virus off of your site. So yes, everybody should have an SSL certificate, which would mean your website would go from HTTP to HTTPS. Okay, let's see. That's like the number one question. How do I get to the top of Google when someone searches? So I gave you a lot of tips and tricks with that. That's all about SEO. So content on your site, speed of your site, secure site. These are all ranking factors. Google uses an algorithm, and that algorithm is always being updated. There are many signals that go into the algorithm. So that's why it's really important that you're updating your website, you're putting fresh content on your site, you're making sure it loads quickly, that you've got a secure website. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. Okay, any other questions? Let me bring back my partners as well. So here's the other thing. Our partners are great resources. You can always reach out to our partners. I'm not customer service, I'm not support. So if you send me a question, I literally have to Google it to send you the link to your answer. So our support pages, thank you, Rick, getting some good comments about good training, thank you. We've got tons of support on Google. So all you have to do is go Google support SEO. We have an SEO guidebook, starter guidebook. So, and I think the link is in the presentation as well. So you can go to that link, and one of our partners will today will send the slides as well as a handout to all the attendees. Again, you're all going to get a link to the recording in an automatic, it looks like it's coming from me. It's not coming from me. It's an automatic email from the platform we're using today. If you read in the email, it says watch recording, big button, click it. You'll be able to rewatch us. But so we also have a starter guide that's available. If you go to Google support or just Google starter guide, SEO starter guide, guidebook, you'll get our guidebook as well. So closing comments, thoughts, anybody?
Well, for me, thank you so much for joining and leading our webinar today. I actually learned a couple of new things. Hopefully everyone else did too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the recording because I think we'll be able to use that for our local small business again for anybody that missed the whole webinar. Thank you.
Jennifer?
Thank you for having us. If anyone has any questions or wants to reach out, you are welcome to Google TSI VA and it should populate the data. Take a look at our website, or if you have any MSP questions or anything like that, I can definitely field those as well.
Thank you so much, Randy. That was awesome. I definitely learned a lot of new things today also. And thank you so much to everybody attending today. Again, Nicholas Johnson with the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Please visit the site at vahcc.com and reach out with any questions. And Lorena, thank you so much for having me here today as well.
Yeah, Lorena, thanks for organizing. Appreciate it. And we'll possibly be doing something, maybe a fall series or something like that. We'll work on that. Okay, so everybody, I'm going to give you 2.5 minutes back to your day. That's like amazing, right? Have a great rest of your week. I know it's only Wednesday, right? No, it's Thursday. Wow, what happened to Wednesday? Okay, it's Thursday. Everybody have a great weekend. It's coming up. So take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.